Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Conserving Energy and Ambience at the Door. I'm Jennifer Getz, the Editorial Director of Facility Executive Magazine, and this webinar is presented by Berner Air Curtains. Before we get started, I'll cover a few housekeeping items. Our speaker is on video today, and if you'd like to view her at the top of your screen, look for the bar in your window to pull down so she is visible to you. Next, please note the control panel on your screen. This is where you can submit questions via the question box at any time. There will be a Q&A portion after this presentation, so please type your questions in there to send them to us. If at any time you experience a technical difficulty, please send us a message via the question section and someone on our team will answer you privately. Also, please note the orange arrow on the left side of your control panel. Clicking on that arrow will either expand or collapse the control panel, so please be sure the panel is expanded so you can access the question box. And if you are interested in continuing education credits, please note that you receive a certificate of attendance in an email from Facility Executive after this webinar. You can report to your association for the credit. Now I'll introduce your speaker for today. Proud to be a U.S. manufacturer, Miranda Berner is in charge of marketing and is part of the new product development team for Berner, the company that makes doors out of air, aka air curtains. Miranda has her lead AP in building design and construction and is a past board member of the Green Building Alliance of Pittsburgh. Miranda is the current chair of AMCA, Air Movement and Control Association's North America Marketing Committee. Miranda, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Okay, let's get into it. So I wanted to talk about how air curtains help to conserve energy and protect the ambiance at the door. And so thank you all for joining on this. So we'll go over how when the door is open, not only do air curtains save energy, but they help reduce the carbon dioxide emissions because when you conserve energy, you reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Supporting the indoor experience and conserving the ambiance of the space. So just to make sure everybody understands the fundamentals of how an air curtain works. Basically, it's a box over an opening such as a doorway. It's got fans and motors in there. It pulls the air in from above your head, from the ceiling, and then sends it down in a laminar flow across the opening to the threshold or the floor where it splits, creating a barrier out of air that you and I can walk through, but the building is no longer paying to air condition or heat the outside. So that's how I explain it to my friends. It's like a fundamental, those are the fundamentals of how the air curtain works. So why is this cool? What do air curtains do? Well, they save energy. And then they also protect the thermal comfort, that barrier, by not allowing cold air to come in when you're in a lobby or in a restaurant and it's winter. It's helping to keep it nice and warm. And places where it's really hot outside, it's helping to protect that air-conditioned space when as the door opens and closes. You have that high foot traffic. Health departments really like air curtains, not only because of the chemical-free flying insect control that they do, but also they help to keep out carbon monoxide from vehicles, cigarette smoke from smoking areas, dust, etc. So with air curtains, saving energy reduces the carbon dioxide emissions. And just some fun stats on why this is important. Building operations globally annually account for 27% of the carbon dioxide put off into our atmosphere. In the US, it's about 31% of greenhouse gas emissions are from residential and commercial buildings. So at Berner, we created a calculator to help you estimate the energy and the carbon dioxide savings of an air curtain. So if you go to our website, you click on the calculator, it takes you a page that looks like this. And what I did is I just did a quick, simple calculation using our Architectural Elite 10 air curtain at a hotel over an entrance 9 feet high, 6 feet wide. The doors are open about 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's estimated in the heating bills, it'll save about $2,700 a year and about $900 in cooling costs. So the energy to run the heating system and the cooling. And with that, that offsets about 91 tons of carbon dioxide. So that's pretty cool. So when you're looking for that type of information, just come to the Berner.com, and you'll see the two different options. You can also do a more complicated calculation that we walk you through as well. So you have the option of one where we make a few more assumptions for you. But this is what a results page will look like. You've got your total energy savings, what your MMBTUs are that are saved per year, translating that over to the total tons of carbon dioxide saved. You see the utility rates, hours of operation, all of that good stuff. So we created this tool to help everybody sort of understand the energy impact that air curtains can have on the operation of the building, decarbonization of the building, the different terms that are being used right now. So what else? So air curtains not only save energy, but they support the indoor experience. So when the door is open, it's protecting that thermal comfort and the humidity. It reduces the entry of health hazards, the carbon monoxide, smoke, and that chemical-free flying insect control. Reducing exposure to pesticides is a very good thing for our health and wellness. And then when the door is open or closed, air curtains continue to help de-stratify and dilute room air and reduce airflow dead zones. With COVID, we learned that we needed to clean our air and make sure our air was moving and that we were able to dilute that virus to reduce the chances of infection and to help stop it from spreading. So not only were buildings adding filters, finer filters, HEPA, MERV 13 to their air handlers, but these air handlers were originally designed to use minimum outside air, and so they weren't sized up for these types of filters. So a lot of times the air is getting to the vents and getting dropped into the room, but there wasn't enough energy behind it to get it really into the room, mixing the room air. So one of the benefits of the air curtain for the space around the door is that with that de-stratification and with that extra pull on the air, it's helping to draw the air out of the vents and registers and into the room. And then also for the indoor experience, when it's cold, it's nice to have a little extra heat, and you have the option with an air curtain to add extra heat. So a little bit more on, oh, there it is. A little bit more on, sorry, my pictures didn't look like they were there. A little bit more on diluting the room air and de-stratification, how an air curtain does that. This is a computational fluid dynamic 3D model of how the air curtain mixes the air. And in this example, the door is closed. So here you have a room, and the red is showing the air at the top of the room, at the ceiling, and then you have the cooler air is down at the bottom along the floor. And then the transition between that, it's mixed air, a little bit cool and a little bit warm. Here is the air curtain, and here's a doorway. So when the air curtain turns on, it starts pulling that air off the ceiling, sending it down across the door and then to the floor, where the air along the floor is now pushing that cold air up, and it's starting to mix. And then as it mixes, we start to get rid of those dead spots of air where, you know, one area is cold and one area is hot in those pockets, and really get that air mixed and diluted. So I hope this slide made sense, and I hope my explanation did too. So anyway, okay, so so that is so conserving the ambiance. So all of that adds up to conserving and protecting the ambiance that your architects and designers really work to create. And when you protect the ambiance, you're also increasing the customer and occupant retention and satisfaction, and you're reducing employee turnover and complaints. Another reason to conserve the ambiance is research has been showing year after year for the past like 5-7 years, millennials, Gen Z, they really value that in-space experience, and they also value, they want to see that companies and that companies are walking the talk, and that they reflect their values of sustainability and treating people well. So when you, and it's a competition thing, like if you have a beautiful in-space experience for your occupants where it's comfortable and it's cool, and all of that good stuff, then it's giving you a leg up over your competition that hasn't made those investments. And then air curtains, by their very nature, support sustainable practices. They save energy and create healthy, comfortable environments. And sustainability is a big deal to millennials and Gen X. It's also a big deal to me. I'm a Gen Xer though. So anyway, here we go. So just a little sidebar. Berner has led the air curtain industry in research on whether or not they work. And yes, they do work. And we've had universities do studies and showing that air curtains are more effective than vestibules for saving energy and protecting the interior space from temperature change. So with that, we were able to get, our industry association was able to get air curtains in the ASHRAE 90.1, 189.1, the IECC, which is the International Energy Conservation Code, to allow AMCA certified air curtains as an exception to a vestibule. So if you don't have a lot of space and you're doing a retrofit, or you're trying to keep your first cost down on building out, or your operating expenses with regards to all that goes into keeping a vestibule well lit, heated, etc., an air curtain is a nice alternative. Here, and then a little bit about the ASHRAE Standard. Basically, what it says is that it needs to be an AMCA certified air curtain, and the air curtain needs to have a velocity of 6 feet per second at 6 inches above the floor. So, and the AMCA certification is a third-party independent body that helps verify that everybody's product is doing what we say it does. So the significance of ASHRAE 90.1 is that it is what the code that is referenced by the USGBC and the LEED Building Compliance Program. So if your building is, or your space is LEED certified, or you're going after LEED certification, that's why it's exciting that now you can use an air curtain instead of a vestibule as part of that. Okay, so to make it easier for you all, Berner has spent the last 7-8 years designing, researching, and working on beautiful air curtains. Quiet, technologically advanced, and just beautiful. We want to make it easy for you to include air curtains over your main entrances. We have a really strong engineering background, so we wanted to put that to use. And then we also went out and found industrial designers and architects and interior designers to work with to come up with something that that looks good over the door. So our performance goals with that were to save energy and support healthy, comfortable environments. Also to make sure we meet that vestibule exception. And then also we wanted to be quieter while operating with an optimal balance of volume, velocity, and uniformity. An air curtain is really quiet when you turn it off, as are your fans and your kitchen hoods, etc. But if you want it to actually work and be quiet, that requires some extra engineering. And so it's really exciting that we put that time in and came up with a quieter air curtain that's still high performing. So here's just some examples of what of how air curtains are looking and being used. So here's one of our new designs on the left. And then in the middle is a grocery store. And here on the right, so we're a US manufacturer and our engineering is in-house. So we love fun jobs like this one on the Vegas Strip where the foot traffic is nonstop. So they got rid of the doors because they were just always open with the number of people coming in and out. So this was fun. The air curtains are put up into the ceiling and created. And I just included that to show you that we like working with people on projects like this. Here's a few more main entrance photos. This one is our in ceiling mount. It kind of hides up in the ceiling. Here's just a classic architectural air curtain over a doorway. And then here's our beautiful architectural elite air curtains in a bar in Ohio. As part of Berner being a leader in engineering and technology when it comes to air curtains, we've also built an app, of course, right? And it's operational on all of our architectural air curtains and also our industrial air curtains. And basically what the app does is it simplifies the programming and scheduling, meets that expectation that we're all starting to have, that we can do everything from our phone. It does give, if you have a building management system, it provides full BACnet compatibility. If you have a multi-speed unit, you've got your weather-based proactive adaptive settings, and it increases the efficiency, and you can then look at your air curtains across facilities. So pretty exciting. So in a nutshell, back to that sustainability message, the people, planet, profit, air curtains support the triple bottom line. For people, we protect that thermal comfort. We help with improve and maintain indoor air quality and well-being. For the planet, the energy conservation and the GHG emission reduction and the chemical-free insect control is all good. Profit for the owner or the operator. You've got your energy savings, you're increasing your occupant satisfaction and your employee productivity. And then another way to say that is the ESG, the environmental, social, and governance. This has become more and more important over the last 5 years. And how do air curtains support environmental? Well, when you take measures to lower your energy consumption and thus your carbon dioxide output and waste and toxicity exposure, that is supporting the E in ESG. And then the S, air curtains help boost that increased customer and employee satisfaction and well-being. So that's the social. And then for the G, for governance, standards for running a company. I don't think air curtains are going to help your companies with governance, but internally here at Berner, we have our own ethics, and we try to run on them. We do follow the golden rule at our company of doing unto others as you would do unto them, and being respectful and working towards the greater good. So, okay. Any questions?
Well, hey, Miranda, thank you so much for this presentation, and thank you to our attendees for sending in questions. And please continue to submit any questions you may have. If you notice the orange arrow on the right side of your screen. If you click that, it just makes sure that it's expanded so you can access the question box. Okay, so Miranda, to get started, what's involved in the installation of an air curtain?
Okay, well, we take pride in making our air curtains easy to install and operate. So we ship them already, everything's already put together. And then for mounting, of course, you have to make sure the wall support is sufficient to carry 3 times the weight of the air curtain. But we've made it pretty simple. We have really nice mounting brackets on the end that slide back and forth to make it easy to line up with the struts. If you're mounting above a doorway with a glass transom, you can either then hang the air curtain from threaded rod, or we have some kits that you can add that make the air curtain look a little nicer on the back of it so that you can hang it on the transom with the glass behind it. Yes, we try to make it super simple to mount.
Perfect. Okay, so we have another question here. Do you feel a cool breeze with an air curtain? And just in general, is it noticeable when people walk in that the air curtain is there? Curtain is there.
It is noticeable if you're paying attention.
Mhm.
And so I pay attention. So I have a really strong bias because I'm always looking up. But yeah, when you walk through an entrance and you feel that whoosh of air, that's usually an air curtain down. But as usually you're coming in from a weather situation into a still air situation, you're going to notice that transference. But would you notice that it's coming from this machine, that there's a little extra wind? Not so sure, depending on what's happening with the weather. With the sound of the air curtain, when air moves, it makes sound.
Okay.
You hear that whooshing noise or the white noise. In commercial and industrial settings, there's a lot of ambient noise, so the air curtain is not very noticeable. But if you try to put an air curtain in a residence where there's no ambient noise, you're going to hear it. But in a restaurant or a hospital, hotel, industrial set, or a factory or a logistics distribution center, you're not really going to hear that air curtain due to all the other sound that's around. And what you do hear is kind of a white noise. So I hope does that answer your question?
I hope so. What are the most, oh, I'm sorry, here I'm jumping into another question. What are the most common applications for air curtains? What kind of facilities are they used in?
For air curtains, um,
Yes.
so restaurants use them over the main entrances, with the trend in sort of that garage door front entrance or entrance. For a lot of times you see them at breweries and whatnot. Those are our industrial units are being used there, and the FDA and the USDA like to see them used there. Your health inspector may ask for them to be used there for insect control. They're used on cafeteria and kitchen back doors, commercial kitchen, restaurant kitchen back doors for insect control. They're used at pass-through windows and drive-through windows for comfort of employees, keeping carbon monoxide out, and then also insect control. They're used over industrial doorway loading docks. They're used over loading dock doors, and also over front entrances. They're used a lot over front entrances, especially places that have high foot traffic and extreme weather. So I hope that answers
Perfect.
that question.
Perfect. Can you get an air curtain that will match your doorway?
Yes, you can. So we do custom covers. So we also powder coat in-house. So we can pretty much color match pretty much any color you have. And then also for metal surfacing and stuff like that, we do stainless steel, we do bronze, we do one-offs. It's always fun, when you get a designer and architect who's like, hey, can we do this with the surface of the air curtain? And then we work to figure that out. So
Perfect, perfect. Are there any safety concerns associated with the use of air curtains?
I think there's always a safety concern with anything that you connect to electricity, and if you're using hot water or steam or gas, that you use your disconnects and shut off before the power. I think that's pretty much the main one. That and making sure that it's hung correctly to begin with. That it's on a load-bearing wall, or if it's hanging from the ceiling, that you followed best practices there. So,
Perfect. And there's one question. Can air curtains help to improve indoor air quality, which I believe you may have touched on?
yes, they can. Because we definitely looked into that with COVID. Basically, by mixing that air and helping to keep the air diluted, it helps with the indoor air quality that way. And then the thermal comfort aspect of indoor air quality. And then if so on the insect side, on pesticide, anytime you can eliminate a pesticide is good, right? Anytime you don't need to use a chemical is good. So when you follow what's it called, an IPM, an integrated pest management program, where they talk about making sure your dumpsters are at least 15 to 20 feet away from the door, making sure you're sweeping up leaves and whatnot, keeping the areas swept outside, using an air curtain for flying insect control. Any of those things that you can do are also helping to improve indoor air quality.
Perfect. Thank you. Let me double check and see our questions here. Okay, here's one gentleman is asking, how do you maintain an air curtain once you have one?
Okay. Well, we make our air curtain. Thank you for asking that. Was that a Berner person who asked that? No, just kidding. We make our air curtains really simple to maintain. It's usually just a couple screws on the front, and then you can remove the cover or part of the cover. Sometimes it'll have a hinge. For our recessed air curtains, it'll have a hinge, so it just drops down. And then you can easily get in to vacuum. We recommend vacuuming out the air curtain depending on the application, 2 or 3 times a year, especially right before heating season starts. When if you have a heated air curtain, we recommend that you wipe down and vacuum the air curtain. And if you need to replace a motor or something, we try to make it really simple to do that. It doesn't happen often, but when it happens, and then we pride ourselves on being super responsive and having really good customer service. So you just call us, give us the serial number, and we can help you with any replacement parts that might be needed, or to troubleshoot anything. But maintenance is fairly simple. It's just keep it clean, right? So just like most things.
Yes, absolutely. And one question I had here, another gentleman is asking, are there reasons to install an air curtain within a vestibule, or are these to be used in lieu of a vestibule?
So the research showed that the most effective is to have a vestibule with an air curtain. So the air curtain outperformed the vestibule, but the vestibule and the air curtain combination is the best solution. So another follow-up to that, we often get asked is, which door should I put it on, and which side of the door? So part of that is about space, right? Like what how much space do you have above the opening? So that might help tell you where you're going to put the air curtain. The other consideration is is what you're trying to do. Are you trying to also keep the vestibule itself heated? Like, are people using the vestibule as a waiting area? Is it a big box store where the vestibule is kind of like a room itself, like a major space? Then you're going to want to put the air curtains on the inside of the exterior doors. And then for smaller spaces, it can depend which door to put it on. So for that, I would reach out to Berner and we'll find out what your space is like, and we'll give you a recommendation.
Awesome, perfect. Another question we have here is, what are the different types of air curtains available in the market?
The different types of air curtains available. Not quite sure I understand the question, but I can just tell you what we make. So,
Yeah, yeah.
we make the non-recirculating, I guess there's recirculating and non-recirculating, and we make both. But the most common are the non-recirculating air curtain, and that's what you saw today in today's presentation. And then we also make an air curtain for revolving doors, because revolving doors act as an airlock, and sometimes they're actually bringing cold air or exhaust fumes into the space. So we've developed an air curtain solution for that. And then you have air curtains that are for doors as high as 50 feet. So we make those. So those are some pretty big, usually mining, in mining jobs. And then we also make an air curtain for a 3-foot high window for a drive-through window. So yeah, so there's a lot of different varieties of air curtains, but the concept is the same. And then you can have as plain Jane as you want, or you can have some really gorgeous high-end air curtains, and we make both because different applications and customers have different needs.
Miranda, if you don't mind, I would like to add to your answer to that question.
Oh, yes, please, Karen.
So as Miranda, alluded to, we have several different series of air curtains to fit several different needs. The one important thing to remember about Berner is we are very application specific with our air curtain. We do not believe in the one size fits all approach that some other manufacturers out there practice. That's all.
Thank you, Karen. And that is part of why we try to be really accessible, through our office staff, our engineering team, and then also our reps. Our reps are really, they're trained, and part of what we like about our reps and the reps we work with is that they're also problem solvers. So those are, anyway, I can't say enough good things about our reps.
Well, thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay. One other question we have here is, do air curtains change how they operate or work when there's different weather situations going on? So if it's snowing or raining and stuff like that.
Yes and no. So yes, so as everybody knows, the world's becoming smarter. So with the digital controls, so with our Berner Air, which is the app, with that we were able to add a setting that proactively follows the weather. So every 20 minutes, it checks the local weather for where that air curtain is installed, and then we'll adjust the speed of the air curtain depending on that. And so that's it's pretty cool. So we've had that feature for about a year and a half, And as technology improves and as we learn more, we are working on, always adding to it, just like everything that's tech, right? Like what last year was inconceivable, it was inconceivable. This year is, all the kids expect it, right? So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Another question we have here is, so how do air curtains work in conjunction with other HVAC systems?
Okay. So they're independent, like they're working independently, but what an air curtain will help do is your main air handler, your main heating air handler or air conditioning system, because you're no longer losing all that treated air out into the street. It's not calling upon the air handler to run as often. So that's the relationship there, right? So so if you're able to maintain the 72 degrees inside the room near the door where and you have a thermostat there, when the door is open because of the air curtain, then you're not going to be then the heat is not going to be kicking on because the thermostat is no longer satisfied. So does that make sense? Did I make sense?
I think, Miranda, I think we have time for one more question. So I'm going to read it. Somebody just asked, should an air curtain be on during normal business hours and not shut off, or can it be programmed to only come on when a door is opened?
Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. So, so with the door switch, you can use a door switch. That's like the simplest way. So when the door opens, the door switch activates the air curtain. When the door closes, the door switch turns the air curtain off. If it's a higher traffic situation, we recommend adding a time delay with that so that the air curtain continues to run for, usually most people set it, and I think it's factory set at 60 seconds. And so if the door opens, like it opens, it closes, and then a few seconds later it opens again, the air curtain continues to run instead of clicking on and off and on and off. And then for normal business hours, one, if it's tied into that door switch, if the door is closed, the air curtain will be off. But you can also, if you have an architectural air curtain, using the digital controller that comes with that, you can set up a schedule of the days of the week and the hours that you want that air curtain to turn on and off.
Awesome. Well, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Miranda, for this presentation today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for attending. I really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful.
And special thank you to Berner Air Curtains for sponsoring this webinar and to our audience for attending today. A recording from today's session will be made available on our magazine's website, facilityexecutive.com. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.